Good morning, everybody, and welcome. My name's James Whitcomb. I'm from the Candidate Coach, and thanks very much for joining our live workshop this morning, how to give great answers to interview questions. In our live workshop yesterday, we talked about all the things you need to do to prepare well when you've landed a job interview to make sure that you've done the right amount of research, the right preparation, and a lot of the small things that can really matter to stand out well in the interview room. But today we're going to focus on just one part of the interview, and that is actually how to give a great answer to an interview question, because it's the one component of participating in an interview that you can actually practice quite a lot by yourself. However, most candidates don't do it because they don't know where to start. So that's what we're going to focus on today's session, how to give great answers to interview questions. Because by the time you've got this interview and by the time you're in the room, you have put in so much effort. You have spent hours on your resume and cover letter. You spend tens of hours, if not hundreds of hours, probably on the job boards applying for roles. You've had phone interviews, and now you are finally sitting down in the room, and you're going to be asked probably 10 to 15 questions. 10 to 15 questions at a normal interview, depending on what type of interview it is. And how well you go about answering those questions is going to have a huge impact on the outcome as to whether or not you are successful in getting the job. So the better your answers can be to interview questions, the more likely you are to get the job. It makes sense, doesn't it? So that's what we're going to focus on today. Just a little bit of workshop housekeeping before we kick off. If I do drop off the line for any reason, if there's a power outage, if the internet goes down, if Facebook crashes, hello, if you're watching us via our Facebook page today, please stay on the line and I'll rejoin as quickly as I can. Feel free to ask any questions. Use the comments box as we're going along. In fact, I'll be asking you some questions and would love your participation in the comments box there. But take lots of notes as we're going along. You'll be able to watch a replay of today's workshop if you'd like to. But when you are learning something, when you're attending a workshop, the way that you hear something and the way something strikes you for the first time is really powerful. So it's important in that moment to remember what your thoughts were and to take notes as we're going along. But as I mentioned, a copy of today's workshop will be streaming live to you right now, but it'll be available to watch on replay almost instantly after our workshop finishes today. Just a little bit about me, James, your host for today. I'm a director at Smart Recruitment, where I've been since 2005. And over that time, I've conducted over 3,000 interviews and 600 group assessments. That's probably a conservative number, to be honest. That's probably a conservative number. It could easily be double that, but I haven't been keeping count of every interview I've done over the last 15 years. But at Smart, we focus on roles where soft skills and interview behavior are key. So I've seen many candidates perform so well at interview that maybe the fact they don't have much experience, maybe the fact that their education isn't quite as strong as the other candidates, maybe it doesn't matter because they've performed so well at interview. Likewise, I've also seen candidates who have got absolutely fantastic skills and fantastic experience. They tick every single box with their experience, their education, their extracurricular activities, all of those types of things, but they perform really badly in the interview. And because they perform really badly in the interview, it means they end up missing out on the job to someone who is better prepared and who can answer interview questions in a better way. And we launched the Candidate Coach, the platform that we're meeting on today, in December 2019, because we wanted to have a standalone platform that had all the resources that job seekers needed to go out and to find work. All right. So as I mentioned yesterday we ran a workshop, how to prepare, and perform well at interview. If you watch yesterday's workshop and you're joining us today, fantastic. We're going to build on what we did yesterday. If you missed yesterday's, you can go and watch a copy of the replay. via our YouTube channel. So feel free to take a screenshot of that if you like, or just go to YouTube, type in The Candidate Coach, and you'll be able to watch any of our previously broadcasted live workshops. All right, I want to start off by actually asking you a question. Let me ask you a question out there in the audience. What do you think the most common interview question in the world is? What do you think it is? There are literally thousands, if not tens of thousands of questions that you can be asked at interview. But regardless of any country, regardless of most role types, there is one question that is the most common. I use this question for every single face-to-face interview I do, whether it's in person or via Zoom or something similar, or whether it is via a telephone interview. Somebody in the chat has already got it right. The most common interview question in the world is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, I often ask this question at the start of a phone interview. Hello, thanks for answering the call. You've applied for this sales role. I'm James from Smart Recruitment. Have you got 10 minutes for a conversation? Yes. Well, just to start off with, tell me a little bit about yourself. Likewise, when I'm sitting down with somebody, whether it's face-to-face in an interview room or whether it's over a video interview, once we've just said a quick hello, I say, hey, thanks for meeting with me today. Just to start things off, why don't you tell me a bit about yourself? It's a really good way for me as the recruiter to get the conversation going. It's a friendly question. It's kind of a rapport building question. But don't drop your guard on this question. Even though it sounds friendly, and it is, and it sounds easy to answer, which it should be, the recruiter is assessing you straight away. This is often the first time they've heard you talk. So if you can give a really good answer to the question, tell me a little bit about yourself, then you're creating a great first impression. You're putting your best foot forward. So, quick activity. Grab a pen and paper or open up a notepad on your screen at the moment. I'll give you a moment to do that. I'm actually not going to ask you to answer the following, but I actually want you to write these things down. So I'll give you just a moment to grab something. So I'm not going to ask you to answer the following, but write the following down. Write this down. Write down 1, name. Write down 2, overview of your work history. 3, your top 3 skills. What are your top 3 skills? And finally, what type of work are you looking for? Let me bring that up all nice and big on the screen for you. Again, feel free to take a screenshot of that if you like. So write these things down, because when you answer, these 4 things, what you're actually doing is you're going to create an elevator pitch. So what is an elevator pitch? Well, an elevator pitch is a brief but persuasive speech. A brief but persuasive speech. It gets its name from the amount of time you actually have to spend with somebody in an elevator. And if somebody in an elevator said, tell me a bit about yourself, you've got that 30 to 60 seconds. So a brief persuasive speech. When might having an elevator pitch come in handy? Well, when you are answering the most common interview question in the world, if you can reel off a well-prepared elevator pitch, you are giving an absolutely fantastic first impression. So it is an interview question that you're being asked. You are in an interview setting. If you can give a great answer to begin with, you're creating a great first impression. So this is what we need to do. We need to go and answer these questions. Name. You should all know your name. Hopefully you know your name. An overview of your work history. So here we want exactly what it says. It's an overview. It's 2 or 3 sentences. 2 or 3 sentences for our overview. We can't talk. Maybe you've had a 30-year career. I want an overview. Because you need to fit everything here into 30 to 60 seconds. Now, your top 3 skills. I want you to pick at least 2 skills that are what we call hard skills. What I want you to avoid doing is 3 soft skills. So the mistake most people make is they say, my skills, well, I'm a hard worker, I'm a team player, and I'm a good communicator. Those things aren't quantifiable. Anybody can say those things. Yes, you might be the world's hardest worker. You might have the world's best communication skills, and you might be a wonderful team player. but it kind of doesn't carry much weight if you say that. What I would recommend is focusing at least 2 of your 3 skills on things that are tangible, things that are hard skills. So if you are going for an accounting job, maybe you mention one of your top 3 skills is I'm completely up to date with my training for MYOB and Xero accounting software. That's a great skill to have. Completely up to date for my training for MYB and Xero accounting software. That's something that is, that's quite meaty. That actually means something. One of your skills might be, I absolutely love working in a team environment. Or one of your skills might be, I'm a really good communicator and I enjoy public speaking. But at least 2 of them need to be tangible. And they might change depending on what job you're going for. You can only pick 3 here. So you need to pick your top 3 skills that are relevant for the job you're going for. And then finally, what type of work are you looking for? Again, this answer might change a little bit based on the type of job you're going for. Let me give you an example. If you are looking at the moment for both retail and administration work, that's completely fine. But you wouldn't say to the retail job, I'm looking for administration work, and you wouldn't say to the administration job, I'm looking for retail work. So you can tinker your answer here. I'm certainly not suggesting that you lie, but you need to answer the question relevant to the person who is asking it. Alrighty, I want to share with you an example. Now, actually, I'm going to go back to my previous screen. I don't want you to be intimidated by this answer. This is a pre-prepared elevator pitch that I've written. As I mentioned, I've got 15 years of recruitment experience, so my elevator pitch should be good. It should be good. So if I was looking for work at the moment, this would be my elevator pitch. All right. Hi, my name is James Whitcomb. For 15 years, I've worked in recruitment, beginning as a recruitment consultant before progressing onto management and then onto being a director, my current position. My top 3 skills would include interviewing candidates in a way that uncovers their true motivation, public speaking and presenting, as well as coaching and training candidates to ensure they are giving themselves the best chance of landing a new job. I'm currently looking for a new role where I can focus more of my time on training, coaching, and assisting candidates as opposed to being a recruiter. So if you asked me to tell you a bit about myself and that was my answer, in an interview setting, you would feel straight away that you know a little bit about my background, my skills, and what I am looking for. I have set the scene really well there. So what I want you to actually do, I want you to go away and create your elevator pitch. So I've given you the 4 things there. So go away and write down with each of them, write down what your answers are. Then come back and rewrite it a couple of times. Rewrite it until you get it to the point where it's perfect. Once you've got it to the point where it's perfect, I want you to save it on your phone. I want you to print out a copy and stick it on the fridge. I want you to print out a copy and put it in your handbag. I want you to print out a copy and put it on the kitchen bench. The reason why I want you to have it all around you is because if you enter the phone and it's a recruiter and they say, tell me a bit about yourself, you're going to go, oh, that's my elevator pitch. I can't remember it. But if you've got it saved on your phone, you can read it back. If it's on the fridge or something in front of you, you've got it in front of you there. Try to memorize it as much as you can. You don't want to sound like you're reading it out, but it will help you to give it a start. So a question just come through. What about education? Like where I have studied, my graduation subject. Absolutely. That's a great question. You would probably put that under your top 3 skills. So if you have recently graduated in chemical engineering with honors, I would certainly mention that, particularly if you're going for a graduate chemical engineering job. So where I've got top 3 skills, it could be top 3 skills / education. Thank you for that question. That is a really important point. So go away, create your elevator pitch, rewrite it several times until it's perfect, start to memorize it, and then use it. When you get asked that question, tell me a bit about yourself, roll out a great elevator pitch, and I guarantee you that you are off to creating a great impression at interview. So, how to stand out at interview? We talked about this yesterday. There is one rule. Preparation is the key. Preparation you can do, and preparation is your friend. There's no reason why you can't go and create a great elevator pitch. Because a candidate who answers questions confidently gives the interviewer a great sense that they are a top performer. Now, we talked about this yesterday. If you are interviewing me and you ask me a question and I sort of answer you, and when I answer you, I'm looking down at my hands and I sort of um, I mumble a little bit and I look around the room and um, I'm not really sure. I kind of know the answer, but I haven't really practiced. I don't, you'll be looking at me thinking, this candidate's not coming across confidently. Whereas if I sit up straight, open body language, I'm looking you in the eye, I'm smiling, and I give you a confident, well-practiced answer, you as the interviewer get the sense or get the impression that I'm going to be a top performer. There is a direct correlation between the two. Answering questions well, a top performer at work, the two are interlinked. So you can create that impression at interview by confidently answering questions. All right, so we have two types of questions at interview. Mainly, I'm speaking broadly here. I'm sure there's other ones that can be thrown at me, but broadly speaking, there are two types of interview questions: behavioral questions and technical questions. We're going to look at both of these today, beginning with behavioral questions. So, with behavioral questions, as an interviewer, we are trying to focus on how you've handled various situations in the workplace and what that reveals about your character, your traits, your abilities, and your skills. So, we're looking at behaviors here. We're looking at behaviors. Now, there's thousands. Go out and Google behavioral interview questions. Go onto our candidate coaching platform. You can download behavioral interview questions. You can probably even Google them via industry. If you're going for an accounting job interview, you can probably Google accounting behavioral interview questions. But typical examples are things like this. Tell me about a time you gave great customer service. Tell me about a time you disagreed with your manager. So a behavioral question will often begin in that way. It's tell me about a time or give me an example of, for example. That's what we're looking for here, because again, we want to see those behaviors, traits, and skills. So the best way, I feel, as the candidate coach to answer behavioral questions is to use the STAR technique. Now, you may have heard about the STAR technique before. Again, it's something that is common all over the internet. The STAR technique is simple. STAR stands for something. So what is the STAR technique? It is a method of answering questions that comprises of 4 steps. Let me zoom in a little bit here so that you can see this clearly. So S is for situation, describing the situation and where it took place. So a lot of candidates don't do this well. They'll just answer a question. They'll take 2 or 3 quick sentences. But situation, you're really also describing the context, where it happened, when it happened. Use places, use names, use dates, use locations, give some background and depth, explain the situation and when it took place. T is for task. We want to explain the task and what the goal was. So what were you asked to do, for example? And what were you trying to achieve? The action. So this is where you talk about what you actually did. So situation and task is not really to do with you. That's where we were and what we were asked to do. Action is focusing on us. What did we actually do? This is the main part of the question here. But we want to provide details. Again, not enough candidates provide details here. So what were the steps that you actually took? What did you do? Feel free to go into great detail here, particularly if it's a really important question. If it's a question that's very relevant to the job, provide details about the action you took. And then the result. What happened? What was the outcome? Sometimes it won't be a great outcome, and that's okay. That is okay. We are not necessarily looking here that we want you to provide an answer where everybody lived happily ever after. This is not a Disney fairy tale story. This is an interview question. And some of the interview questions we ask, we want a bad outcome. We might ask a question. Tell me about a time you worked in a team that had a bad result. So the result is going to be bad. So we want to hear about the situation. We want to hear about the task. We want to hear about what you did. And we want to hear why the result was bad. So the result doesn't have to be good. Sometimes we learn the most about candidates when the results were bad, but we can hear about what they learned. So again, take a screenshot of that if you're not familiar with the STAR technique. I'm going to give you an example now of how how we use the STAR technique to answer a question. Okay, so, sorry, before we do that, skip through these quickly. All right, so an example of the STAR technique. Here is the question. Let's pretend this is going to be asked in a nursing interview. Let's pretend you're a nurse. You're coming along for an interview with me today. And I have asked you to describe a time when you handled a difficult situation at work. How did you react? Now, this question could be asked at any interview. You don't need to be a nurse, a dentist, a doctor. It doesn't have to be health related at all. Could be in customer service, could be in sales, could be engineering, could be in C++ programming. But describe a time when you handled a difficult situation at work. How did you react? So here's a great answer. In my last job as a nurse, one of my colleagues quit after securing a job with a top private hospital. Though I was managing a ward full of patients, I was assigned this one patient who didn't want to be admitted. He wanted to bolt out of his room. I made myself available to the patient, discussed with him the reason he was being admitted, and assured him he would receive 24/7 attention and good care. The patient finally calmed down and agreed to spending the next 3 days under observation. He was discharged on the third day, and the wife personally thanked me for handling someone she knew to be extremely stubborn and difficult. Okay, so that's a really good answer, but let's deconstruct it and see how they've applied the STAR technique. Okay, so S, situation. In my last job as a night nurse, one of my colleagues quit after securing a job with a top private hospital. So they describe the situation there straight away, just from that one sentence. We've got a really good understanding, don't we? She's a nurse, somebody's quit and left. Task. I was assigned this one patient who didn't want to be admitted. So that's the task. There's a patient there, they don't want to be admitted. That sounds quite a challenge to me. Absolutely. So let's go into action. A, action. What action did this person took? So they made themselves available to the patient, discussed with him the reason he was being admitted, and assured him he would receive 24/7 attention and good care. So they've explained here the actions that they took. What did this nurse do to act on the task? And then the result. He was discharged on the third day, and the wife personally thanked the nurse. So we've broken it down there. Situation, task, action, and result. This is the best way to answer a behavioral interview question. When you first heard that answer, you're probably thinking, wow, that is quite a good answer. I don't know if I could give an answer that good. But after today, go away. Imagine your most recent employment. If somebody asked you that question, describe a time when you handled a difficult situation at work in your most recent job. How did you react? It's important to know what situation you're going to describe, because there's nothing worse than being asked on the spot about a situation at work and you sit there and think, oh, gee, I'm going to have to, not quite sure I can remember something exactly. If you've worked in a job, everyone's faced difficult situations, so you need to have examples ready. All right, let's move on to technical interview questions now. Technical interview questions are different because we are focusing on how you actually perform that skill a lot of the time. How do you perform this particular skill, whether it's engineering, IT, finance, customer service, sales, marketing? How do you perform this particular skill in the job? So we're focusing on the skill, the qualification, and the experience required to do the job. For example, tell me about the accounting software packages you are most familiar with. So that would obviously be for an accounting role. Or for a sales role, what sales methodology do you find is most effective? So we're kind of getting a bit more into nitty-gritty details now, aren't we? We're getting into the technical aspect of performing well in your particular job. So what do we do? How do we go about giving great answers to technical interview questions? Well, first of all, this sounds really silly, but focus on answering the question. Focus on answering the question. What a lot of candidates can do, let's say I've asked you the question, you're going for a sales role, and I say, tell me about your preferred sales methodology. The candidate might say, oh, well, there was this one time I had this customer and what happened was, and they sort of start telling a story, and it might be a good story, but they get a long way away and further away from answering the question. The question's been quite specific there. Tell me about what sales methodology you use. Yes, you can give some examples, but don't forget to answer the actual question, because you might give me a great example of this time you made a wonderful sale. But if you've not focused on answering the question, I'm kind of sitting there thinking, hey, did you hear what I said? Is your attention to detail good? It's been an interesting story or an interesting answer you've given me, but you've actually not answered my question here. And because you haven't answered my question, I don't know what your preferred sales methodology is. So make sure you focus your answer on what the question is. Provide details. So we can use the STAR technique or the W: who, what, why, when, how is H, I know, but again, we want to provide some context. So if you've been asked about your preferred sales methodology, say what it is, but say why it is. Say where you've used it. Say when you've used it. Say why you use it. Provide some details here. We absolutely love it at interview when we get detailed interview answers. 9 times out of 10, we want more detail. Most candidates think, I need to answer this question as quickly as I can. No. Provide some details. Situation, task, action, result. Who, what, where, when, and why. Thirdly, give even further detail or ask if it's okay to. So again, if you've answered the question about your favorite sales methodology, say to the interviewer, do you mind me actually giving you a couple of examples where I've used that methodology? Absolutely. I would most of the time say, absolutely, I'd love to hear about it. Because what we're then starting to see from the candidate is a great understanding of how they've used a sales methodology, how effective it is, and how they've learnt to master it. So I would really, really encourage you to go into great detail. And if you feel like you're going into too much detail, there's nothing wrong with saying to the interviewer, am I going into too much detail here? Most of the time they'll say, no, I'm actually enjoying what you are saying. Fourthly, try to relate the answer to the job or company you are interviewing with. Okay, this is a really good point. Relevancy. Let's talk about relevancy. You need to make sure that you have got a really good understanding through your research of what the organization does that you are interviewing with and what the job will be doing that you are interviewing for. If you have a good understanding of the organization, you have a good understanding of the job, you can craft your answers so that they're really relevant to both. And if you are doing that, then you are really impressing the interviewer at both a conscious and a subconscious level. So if you're going for a customer service role in a bank, try to relate your answers to what would be relevant to working for customer service in a bank. So how do we stand out at interview? Preparation is your friend. Preparation is key. Preparation you can do. Again, nothing that I have asked you to do today, there is any reason why you cannot go away and do it. Now, if you're still wanting some more assistance, I want to point you to our candidate coaching platforms where we've got 2 episodes. Episode 9, interview preparation, getting the basics right. And episode 8, that was episode 9, taking your interview from good to great. Go and watch these episodes. You'll hear from myself and 7 other experienced recruiters. Next week, we continue our workshop. So next week, particularly on, what have we got? Let me look at my calendar. On the 26th, which is Tuesday, we're running a masterclass on Thursday or Wednesday, but Tuesday session in particular is for graduates. So if you're looking to land a graduate job in Australia at the moment, come along to our workshop wherever you're watching it today on Tuesday at 10 o'clock. And then Wednesday, we're running a masterclass. So we finish every month with a masterclass where we basically go through all of our 7 workshops that we've run so far this month, and we touch on each of those. A reminder of all the resources that are available for you on our candidate coaching platform. We've got 12 video coaching episodes that you can watch. Everything from resume and cover letter tips, interview episodes, how to resign, lots of information and lots of coaching videos for you there. We have resume and cover letter templates that are ready for you to download and fill out. We have interview questions. We have tests. You can take an online test and practice your skills. We've got checklists to help you make sure that you're best prepared if you've got a video interview, for example. We've got articles you can read. We've got specific advice and resources available for executive job seekers. We've got mental health support. We advertise all of our live upcoming workshops, and it's all available to you for free. Before you leave today, please take a moment to give us some feedback. We absolutely love feedback. It really helps us to know what you thought of today's session. But we also ask a question: what more would you like coaching on? So, are there other particular topics? So, our other workshops we run through the month focus on resumes, cover letter, how to create a LinkedIn profile. What else would you like to know about? Please copy that link down, and it is literally only a 2-minute survey, as well as following our LinkedIn page to keep up to date with all of our content. We'll finish today with this video, which we finish all of our workshops with, which is how to look after your mental health when you're looking for work. Because we're really conscious here at the Candidate Coach that when you're looking for work, it can start to make you feel not great, particularly if you've been looking for work for some time, and you are getting more knockbacks and more rejection than you'd like. So thanks very much for joining with us today. The workshop will conclude at the end of this video, and I hope to see you online again next week for our workshops.
If you're not feeling terrific at the moment and you feel like your mental well-being has taken a little bit of a dip, please remember this is not going to last forever. There's lots you can do to manage your mental health and get back on top of it. I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years. A lot of adults and young people, mainly with anxiety, depression, trauma as well, a range of issues, and many who are looking for work and undergoing that process of trying to find employment. Looking for work causes mental strain because our identity is tied up with our work. Work gives us meaning, it gives us purpose, it gives us company and connection. So it's stressful for lots of reasons looking for work, and it can take a toll on our mental health. It's really important for us to be aware of the signs that our well-being and our mental health might be dropping. Probably the biggest sign is changes in behaviour. So that might be changes in the way we're thinking or talking to ourselves. We might be saying things like, who would employ me? I'll never get a job. We might be really down on ourselves and really hard and critical on ourselves when normally we're not so hard and critical. We might also, in our relationships, change our behaviour. We might be more snappy or more irritable with people that we love, that normally we might be a little bit irritable sometimes, but not irritable in that way. Losing interest in things that usually sparked us and ignited us and gave us joy. So perhaps usually we like walking the dog and suddenly we start thinking, I can't be bothered walking the dog today. That sort of thing, those changes in behaviour are really significant because they tell us that something's different, and if we're noticing, I suppose, more than one of those and it's affecting the way we feel, and this is over a period of say 2 weeks or longer, then it's a really good idea to have a chat to a GP that you trust, and find out what might be going on, have a discussion and see if there's any physical reasons for that, or if perhaps your mental health and wellbeing might be able to do with a little bit of extra support, and then the GP can refer you on to see a psychologist, a counsellor, whoever is most appropriate for you. There are so many great things you can do to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, and it's really important that you do. My very top tip would be really talking kindly to yourself and being compassionate with yourself. I think when we're looking for work, we can have a lot more questions like, will I ever get a job? Will I ever be employed? It can feel like this could go on forever. So being kind to ourselves and saying things like, it will work out. There will be a day, my efforts will be rewarded. It will just take time. I just need to keep trying. Reminding yourself of your strengths. And that might even be tapping into people you love and asking them what your strengths are, because sometimes it's harder to find them when our mood's a bit low and we're feeling more worried. We can be harder on ourselves. I think that routine is really, really important to our well-being. When we're looking for work, we mightn't have such a regular routine because there mightn't be a 9 to 5 start and finish time for a job. Well, there isn't. So instead, thinking about looking for work as a job in itself can be helpful. Having a start time and a finish time can be really helpful, and some set tasks that you hope to achieve that day. Purpose is really important too. So purpose might come through routine, but it can also come through other things. Meaning's really important, and our work gives us meaning. So when we're looking for work, meaning mightn't feel like it's there as much. Part of what we can do is infuse those tasks with meaning. So I am doing these things today, I'm looking for work, and that is meaningful in itself because there's an end goal to this. It will be something that's good for me and good for the people that I love as well. Some excellent resources for looking after well-being when looking for work are the Headgear app. The Headgear app is free, it's evidence-based, it's developed by Black Dog Institute, and it is fun to use. It uses mindfulness, so a technique to really help us relax and reduce physiological arousal, which can often occur when we're feeling anxious. It's got a 30-day challenge, which is just short, bite-sized little challenges to extend your well-being and grow your well-being, and that can be really extra important when we're looking for work. There are also some really terrific resources available through the Black Dog Institute. One of them is a beautiful self-care plan that encourages you to think about your top coping tips, the things that personally work best for you, that are positive coping strategies. Another really good resource is through Beyond Blue, and they've got some excellent resources to look after mental health while looking for work, and also when people are recently out of work as well. Probably time to seek professional assistance when you notice your mood is lower and you're feeling more down than usual, when you're worrying more and perhaps worrying excessively about things that you wouldn't normally worry about, and perhaps in your relationships too, when you're more tense with people and perhaps more snappy or irritable. All of these are signs that perhaps our mood is not in the greatest space and our well-being is not in the greatest space, and that it can be a great idea then to chat to your GP, who can then refer you to an appropriate person to help you strengthen your well-being. It's very common for people to have a dip, but please know that that's not going to last forever, and that there's lots you can do through looking after yourself, but also through getting access to professional support that can really give you a boost again and get you back feeling good as you're looking for work.